Hello, how's everyone doing? Yes, I know, I skipped a Wednesday again and doing it on Thursday instead, but who cares? As long as the video gets published, that's all that really matters, right? Okay, I think this is a good time now that I think Deuteronomy is the last book of the Law of Moses because then we get into Joshua and so on and so forth. So I think this is a good time to stop for a moment and talk about the foundation of this all. Now, I'm not saying that the Bible is made up. I'm not saying that. I am just saying that a lot of this stuff is like loosely based on Sumerian culture. I mean, think about it. Abraham came from Mesopotamia. He came from Ur. So there's a reason why there's so many parallels and whatnot to the Sumerian culture and to what's in the Bible. It's because it's directly connected to it. Abraham is literally from Mesopotamia. That was his homeland. That was where his whole family was from the city of Ur, which the deity there was Nana. That the Mesopotamian deity. So technically, it's feasible to say that Abraham left and his original god could have been Nana, the moon god of the Sumerian pantheon. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about Nana. I'm here to talk about specifically Enki and Enlil. And anybody who knows their history, anybody who knows their Sumerian Mesopotamian history, knows who these two are. Now, I'm not here to speculate, on who's who in the Bible compared to I'm not here to say this is Yahweh in the Bible and this is Michael the Archangel, because I don't know. I'm not here to speculate on any of that. I'm no scholar or nothing like that. I'm just here to give my personal opinion on Enki and Enlil, two entities that are more than likely alive. Because if you think about it, if you think that, if you go on, the artifacts that we have that weren't destroyed, and you look at the king's list, and you see how long each of their kings and whatnot ruled here on Earth, it's good. It's a reasonable assumption that they're still alive. They live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So, anywho, there are actually people out there, including Elena Danaan, who have contact with these beings. Now, I love Elena Danaan. She is one of my favorite authors. She is a big part of my awakening process. When I started to wake up, she and Allie Carter, obviously, they were both, huge parts of my, when I first woke up to how crazy and dumb everything is. And you should go check her out. You should check out her books. You should read her books. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with everything or agree with how she feels about Enki, for example. She talks about Enki a lot. She knows Enki personally, and I understand she wants to defend her friend and everything like that. And I'm grateful to Enki. I think we should all be grateful to Enki. I think it's because of him that a lot of us, I don't know who exactly, but a lot of us are alive today. I have no doubt he had a large part of that any of us are alive today. He actually went out of his way to save some of us when he didn't have to. And I think we should always be grateful for that. However, on that note, it does imply, though, that he was a part of the enslavement of humanity, whether he wanted to be or not. He was part of it. He tampered with our genetics. If you read the text, it clearly states that him and his partner, Ninhursag, they both genetically engineered and altered humans. Now, according to Elena, they altered us to make us, better and more smarter and stuff, which royally pissed Enlil off. The other of the two pair that we're talking about today. Now, just in case you all don't know who Enki and Enlil are in ancient Mesopotamian culture, if you didn't pay it or maybe asleep during history class, Enki was considered the god of wisdom, knowledge, water, things like that. Enlil was considered the god of air, storms, things like that, And Enlil the way that they're discussed in these myths and whatnot. Enlil seems to be a superior, and it seems like Enki, which is who's on the screen right now, Enki, was some sort of scientist. I mean, look at this. Look at what he's holding. He's literally holding a beaker, like from a science lab. He's literally holding a beaker with vapors and fumes coming out. And you wonder why that they want to destroy all of these ancient artifacts. It's because, I mean, if we saw a lot of them, we would see things like this. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, he was clearly some sort of scientist, maybe even, I mean, most likely a geneticist, if you think about how him and Ninhursag tampered with our genetics. Now, I mean, yeah, maybe they made us smarter, or, I mean, I don't know. At least that's what it looks like it's what happened. That they made us smarter instead of, like, making us more slave-like. At least that's what it seems like. And, well, that's, you know, for other speculation for another day. But anywho, so Enki was obviously the scientist. Enlil was obviously the leader, the commander, the one ordering this. So, you know, I'll give Enki that. He was doing what he was told to do. However, though, if I want to be completely honest, here's what troubles me about what Elena has been saying about Enki. It seems to me that Enki, how do I put this? How do I word this? Perhaps doesn't quite understand maybe the full gravity of what his and his family's actions have actually caused. Like, yeah, on the one hand, they saved us and whatnot, but on the other hand, it still was his family that enslaved us to begin with. Like, they didn't actually have to come here and tamper with us at all. In fact, sometimes I can't help but wonder, where would we be now if they hadn't? I'm not talking about, like, the other aliens because I'm sure there's been many. I'm talking about specifically the Anunnaki. It seems like specifically their actions had the most effect on our history and, like, everything that is even going on today as a result of their original actions. Is it not, maybe not specifically Enki, more so Enlil, that psychopath. But, like, like, maybe people would be a little bit more forgiving or whatnot, or more understanding if we had the full truth. You know what I mean? Like, if we had the full story. That's the problem. The bits and pieces of, like, the myths of them are so fragmented. Some of them are missing and whatnot. So there's very little context. There's only a couple things that are actually for real 100% clear. One of them being they came, Enki and Ninhursag tampered with our genetics, apparently under Enlil's orders. It could have been under Anu's orders, their father. Unclear specifically. It kind of varies myth to myth. But it is clear they did in fact tamper with our genetics. And it's also clear that Enlil on many occasions tried to harm humans, many humans, all humans. On many occasions, not just even before the flood happened. He tried to send diseases to us via another family members of theirs. And then Enki helped to stop and prevent that. Which, I guess, yeah, thanks, I guess. But, like, then the flood comes. And he warns Atrahasis. I just can't help but wonder, who else did he warn? Did he warn anybody else? Why specifically him? Atrahasis or Ziazudra? Why specifically them? Why are you warning us and not, like, trying to stop this? Maybe you did try to stop it, like, for real, but, like, a lot of these myths are fragmented and whatnot, and there is, like, one, like, I think it was the Eridu Genesis or one of them, I don't know, I've read these before in other videos, where you know, Enki, you know, condemns them for wanting to do what they do because they're clearly scared. That seems to be the common theme, is Enlil and Anu specifically are fearful that humans might get too smart for their own good. And who's to say that these humans don't, make their own machines, make their own spaceships, and come to where the Anunnaki's homeland are and bring war to their home and start tampering with their genetics, all these possibilities, because they see the full potential and capabilities. I mean, that's what I'm getting from these myths and tales, is that they were honestly scared of humans. They were scared. So, I mean, yeah, I think we should be absolutely grateful that Enki saved us and did what he did, defied his family and whatnot. I think we just need a clearer picture of what happened. Why did you mess with us to begin with? If you do have this prime directive to not mess with life that is in the early processes of evolving, if you do have this, then why'd you do it? Why'd you mess with our genetics at all, even to make us better? Why'd you do it? I'm not saying I'm not grateful, but I don't know. I just feel like we need to know the full truth, the full history, in order to even consider being accepting this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the point is. If you're not going to own your own actions, if you're not going to own the fact that you did in fact tamper with genetics, that you did violate this prime directive that you clearly hold so dearly, I don't know, that troubles me. I feel like we should have a little accountability, a little truth, the full picture of history even. But until we get the full picture, it's really all purely speculation. It really is. Now, why do I bring Enki and Enlil up at all? Well, I bring up Enlil. I want to talk about Enlil. This is Enlil right here. He looks a little different than Enki. I mean, maybe it's just the sculptor is, I don't know. But he looks a little different than Enki, even though the statue is slightly damaged. You can tell that he's not as human looking as Enki is. I don't even know if Enki is a human, but he looks a lot more human than this figurine. But anyway, so Enlil is basically the superior, the one above Enki, the one who's a real troublemaker, it seems, who traumatized our ancestors even. He, and all, or not all, but most scholars agree that he is more than likely the Yahweh in the Bible that we read about, that we've been reading about. And that's why I think that Enki and Enlil are important to discuss. Because Enki shows up in the Bible one time, and that's to warn Noah, who is probably Ziazudra, the Atrahasis guy, Utnapishtim. He has 3 or 4 different names. But he warns him, and then, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Enki comes back up in the Bible at all, unless that's who Jesus is talking about. And then the rest is just Yahweh, aka Enlil, wreaking havoc on humanity. Now, Enlil is the one who advocated for the flood, basically convinced Anu and their council of other gods that this had to be done, that they had no choice, they had to reset the slate clean, and all this other stuff. Well, the devastation was so bad. It was so bad that even Enlil and Anu slightly, I wouldn't go as far as to say that they regret it, but it does seem they felt a bit remorseful. If you look at the myths and stuff, it does seem like because they do allow Utnapishtim and his family to live. So, they didn't completely irrevocably destroy every single person, but, just most people. And then here's the thing, that Enki kind of just disappears from the story after this. You know what I mean? He saves his one family, or I don't know, maybe, I guess I shouldn't say that. It's possible he warned others. Hopefully he did. But then he just slightly disappears. Now, his 7 sages, 7 other scientists don't disappear. They seemingly stick around and try to help people to relearn how to do different things and whatnot. But anyways, I'm just curious as to, is this who the elites are, ultimately, following even to this day? I mean, I don't know. Him, maybe his son, maybe his nephew Marduk, Enki's son, because we know he's not innocent. We definitely know he's not innocent. But I guess if I could ask Enki specifically anything, if I could ask, or if, if I could ask him something, I would ask this. I mean, I would ask a couple things. I guess one thing I would ask is, did he, like, when after the flood, when human beings' lifespans were dramatically shortened from like hundreds and hundreds of years to less than 100 years, or just a little over 100 years, it was like, and it's even shorter than that now. Like, it was dramatically shortened. Did he have a role to play in that? I'm very curious. When he tampered with genetics, did that have anything to do with it, or did Enlil get someone else to do that? Like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like all this happens. Humanity has been so affected by it. Every inch in every society and every culture. There is not a soul on this planet who hasn't been in some way or the other affected by this drama between Enki and Enlil. I just kind of feel like that we deserve an explanation, or we deserve to know. We deserve to know why they did it and what our real history is. And if they do want to make it right, why are they hiding from us all? Why aren't they giving us explanations? Why aren't they explaining these myths, like with Enki and Ninhursag, like betting on who can make a more suffering being and who can fix it? Like, that doesn't seem like beings advocating for humanity to me. I mean, maybe that myth is misinterpreted or mistranslated. I'm open to that, but that's the thing. That's why I'm saying, like, we deserve to know the truth. We deserve to know the full picture, the full history. Like, I don't know. That's just me. That's just how I feel. I'm willing, to accept it all, because I'm grateful that humanity was ultimately saved or whatnot. But, like, would we have to have been saved if they didn't come to begin with? Like, that's my thing. It's like, I feel like we deserve an explanation. Like, if we're gonna, like, redo Enki's reputation, I feel like we do deserve an explanation on that. I do. That's just my opinion. I think maybe we even deserve an apology, because I tell you what hurt my feelings. This is really what kind of hurt my feelings, and I think I speak for the rest of humanity when I say this, was when we were told that he didn't want to be worshipped. That kind of hurt my feelings. I'm not going to lie. I took that personally. It was insulting. It was very insulting, in my opinion, after everything that they've done or haven't done. After everything, after all these millennia of all this drama, war, when we could have been evolved a long time ago. Like a long time ago, I believe we were already evolving past the slavery, past the human sacrifice, and then these Enlil and Ninorta and Enki cults are keep bringing us back to that over and over and over again because of this drama. Like, it's just, yeah, that's just how I feel about it. But, like, I'm open to some explanations, some apologies, because it's insulting, like, when they try to, like, preach to us and stuff like that about, like, royalty and about things like that. Like, maybe royalty works and stuff, that elite bloodlines and whatnot works on the Anunnaki planets and whatnot. But historically, it doesn't look like it works here at all. I don't know, maybe humans just aren't capable of like, balancing that power with being humble. I don't know. But, like, yeah, it hasn't worked. And I feel like that whole thing, that whole bloodline and royalty thing started with the Anunnaki. It started with them. And listen, maybe I'm just totally full of shit. Maybe I'm just being an ungrateful little twat or whatnot. Maybe they're all right, the Anunnaki who come on Elena's channel, who use her for their own means. Maybe I'm wrong. That's why I think that they need to come out and be honest. To be honest about all of it. About these, like I said, especially that myth where he's like raping his daughter and his granddaughter or whatnot. Maybe there's an explanation to it. Maybe that wasn't actually what was happening. Maybe Ninhursag didn't make like a feeble, incontinent being who kept leaking and peeing on himself just to show Enki that he couldn't fix. Like I feel like these things need to be explained to us. They need to be explained. Like, what actually happened? If that is what happened, that sounds horrible and very unethical. But anyways, that's just my opinion. I would like these things to be explained. I mean, that is, if you want, like, you know what I mean? Maybe you just are over it and just don't give a fuck what we think or feel or what we know. And that's fine. I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll be okay. But I was just saying, for your own thing, for your own karma, because like this like has affected humanity deeply. Maybe by you ignoring it or avoiding us, you're not realizing that, but it has. It's affected us in every way. And I'm not saying you got to go on like television or something and explain yourself. No, that's not what I mean. But like, if you're going to go on there and talk to us about like different things, about like sovereignty, about the power of prayer and all this stuff, why don't you just explain your actions? I feel like, to us, you don't have to explain to us what goes on in your own world and your own planet and your own lives. I just mean explain to us what happened in these myths when we were involved, when humans were involved, when humans were harmed or affected. Okay, that's what bothers me. But anyways, I'm going to say that and leave it at that. And then I will be back on Sunday and we will get into the book of Joshua and how Enlil was effectively using these bloodlines for his own means, for his own end, ultimate end. Anyways, so see you guys Sunday.